You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 129.
So on today's Small and Supercharged podcast, we are joined by Yve from the English Stamp Company. Now, you may not know about the English Stamp Company, or you actually, to be fair, based on their social media following and also a lot of influencers in my space that I see use products from the English Stamp Company, but also they had quite a challenging understatement of the year at time with their Instagram not that long ago. So I imagine you may have heard of them through there. But Yve, tell us all about you and all about the English Stamp Company.
Hi, Ria. So thanks for having us on your podcast today. My name's Yve. I've been with the English Stamp Company for coming up 8 years now. The company actually was started by Sasha and John back in 1992. And when they were starting the company up, I used to babysit for their children. So I've had input right from day one, which has been really nice, actually. And I think given John the trust, for me to look after his stamps, having looked after his children. Sasha and John did a lot of traveling. They went to India and they were really taken with the block printing over there and came back. Sasha comes from quite an arty background and is very creative and has a really good eye for design. John, engineer, he can make stuff happen. So the pair of them make a really good team, and they started making rubber stamps. They started with stars, and like I say, Sasha has a really good eye for design. So they were used a lot in interiors in the early days. Gold stars onto dark, moody walls and onto fabrics and furniture. Their kids' bedrooms were just beautiful, really, really beautiful, unique. The furniture was stamped, the light shades were stamped, the curtains, the bed linen. Wow. And actually their son, who is all grown up and very independent and grown man now, still has a hand-stamped bed set when he comes home from when he was a child, which is really sweet.
Oh, I love that.
The company has grown over the years. We've gone from doing lots of interior stamps to real crafting stamps. We do lots and lots of business stamps these days, lots of logo stamps, and we've seen a real surge with people going back to using the stamps again for interiors, which is really lovely. We love that sort of look. And funnily enough, actually Sasha did a book early on in the company lifespan. And it was all interior based, and we got it out the other day and we're looking at it, and it's timeless. It's really lovely to look back through and see how the stamp designs, we would still have rooms decorated like that quite happily today. So it's aged really, really well, and I think that's been the best thing about the company. And the fact that we make so many custom stamps means that we can move with trends really, really quickly. The wedding industry has been great, DIY wedding stationery, and I think it sort of started with people looking for cost saving ideas, how to make beautiful fabric, beautiful wallpaper, and wedding stationery at a lesser cost. But actually, once people have a go at it, they become hooked really, really quickly, which is fantastic. And we see lots of repeat customers, and our customers are even more creative than we could have hoped for, and we draw a lot of inspiration from them along the way, which is really lovely.
I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? I know before we came on, we were talking about the lovely Lauren from Hunters and Heels. I know that she makes all this beautiful wrapping paper for various things, and she uses just brown paper and your stamps. And actually the end result, if you actually went and bought that from a shop, would be really quite expensive. But
absolutely,
because it's sort of thick, nice quality brown paper, which you can just buy from, well, anywhere really. I mean, it's very readily available with that kind of hand printed detail, but you're actually getting a higher quality product at a cheaper price because you're doing a bit of the work, which is actually rather lovely anyway.
It's really satisfying. Yeah, absolutely. And we've done workshops. Actually, another one of our lovely influencers that found us, I think through Lauren as well, actually, back in the day, Just a Little Build, Sarah Jane. And she had an Instameet a couple of years ago that we attended, and we did a workshop, and there were nearly 100 ladies there. And I don't think more than maybe 10% of them had stamped previously. and they sort of sat there with a bit of apprehension to start with, and we had all the stamps and inks and powders and everything out on the table, and there was a sort of silence while I talked about what we were going to do, and they all sort of took it in, and then there was a rush and frenzy, and then there was silence again as they all just got into this pattern of stamping cards and things. It's really relaxing, and it's hugely satisfying, and you can't really go wrong with it. So there's no sort of like, you know, if you're trying to draw something, it might go wrong, you might, you know, you're really judgmental of your own work. With a stamp, it is, we've done the work, we've done the design, you add the ink, you push it down, pull that stamp back up, and you've got a piece of art, and it's very, very satisfying. So that's been really positive for our social media as well, because people want to share what they've done, and that's been great.
I think as well, at least one of my people in one of my membership groups has got a stamp of yours that they use on their swing tags and their business branding, which is so lovely, not just from an aesthetic point of view, but from a kind of being more eco-friendly, you know, not having to ship specific labels all around the world, quite literally in some cases, because the printing can be very cheap in different countries, but being able to do it all by hand as and when needed, not having to buy, you know, 5,000 in advance, but buying more simple tags, but then putting that lovely personalised bespoke stamp that you've created on them as well. It's and it's a real kind of finishing touch by hand, isn't it? I think we're moving towards that sort of hand finished, more eco, more kind of wholesome, for want of a better expression, way of being as well.
Absolutely. And the beauty is, you know, if you buy a stamp that fits a business card, it will also fit your swing tags. It will also be something that you can stamp on your packaging. You can also use that on tissue paper if you're wrapping a gift up. You can use it to put on the corner of a box when you've boxed it up. One stamp actually has so many uses. And so, like you say, you're not being tied with those minimum print costs. You're not having to buy hundreds of boxes. You can get smaller, and cutting up scraps of card. We have lots of people that use, you know, make items out of fabric, and they'll cut remnants of the fabric up to make business cards on fabric, which is really lovely.
That's really cool. I hadn't thought of that, actually. That's really fun.
Your head's going to be buzzing by the end.
I know, I'm now thinking, what can I buy stamps for? I think the wrapping paper is definitely what I'm going to look at, because my children have just started school, so we're going to get into the kind of birthday present every 5 minutes ordeal. And to be honest, I just don't have the brain power to buy that many different bits of wrapping paper, but I can buy a big roll of brown paper and some nice stamps, and then do what I fancy, which is a win.
We actually posted a video yesterday on our Instagram, and we bought A1 sheets of sugar paper, and A1 is around about the same size as a normal piece of wrapping paper.
Yeah.
And I've got some myself. Stamp it up as and when, rainy day, get the kids to do some, if you want to do some that's a bit tidier on your own in the evening, but then stamp a piece of paper at a time, roll it up, keep them in a tube in a cupboard, and you've got wrapping paper ready to go as soon as you want.
That's a good idea. Oh, I need to start making notes. I'm like, oh, I could maybe do this with it, which is really cool. And I guess you sell different inks then as well that do different jobs, because a fabric ink is going to be different to a paper ink. Am I right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, all used in a very similar way. But yeah, the fabric inks are slightly juicier and have to be used with a tiny bit more care. But I mean, we've seen kids stamping up tote bags at workshops, and they do an incredible job using them. So they really are for all ages, and we've got ink pads that can be used on glossy surfaces like glass or ceramic tiles. Yeah, we've got all sorts of inks.
Wow. I mean, now I'm thinking the kitchen is for a stamp makeover. So can you tell us about how you grew your business? Because social media has been a really big thing for you, for the English Stamp Company, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We started up the Instagram account about 7 years ago. Sasha does all of our photography, and as I said, that key eye for design and style, it really pays off, because our photographs are stunning. And I think that just draws people in anyway, because they just look so nice. And also, as I was saying, you know, it's out there for everybody to use. So the stamps are very, you know, it's a low price point. If somebody wants to get started, a 1-inch stamp is £4, so you can get going really quickly without having to sort of outlay any cost. And the posting on social media. I mean, we didn't have a clue what we were doing. We'd used Facebook. We don't get nearly as much traffic from Facebook. And I think partly that is probably our fault, because the response wasn't so quick, wasn't so rapid. We've probably not put in as much effort to our Facebook as we have our Instagram. But the Instagram for us was just immediate reaction. We got, and you can't help it, can you? Those likes, we all need them.
Absolutely.
And the shares, and because people can use the stamp so quickly and they want to show everybody what they've done, they tag us, they put stories up, we can reshare those. And it just grew, and we put a lot of effort in, very much so in the early days, especially. Sasha and John's daughter Bella and I have done the majority of the posting, Sasha as well, obviously, and going through the season. So Sasha put some napkins on the washing line, and just those blowing in the breeze with the fabric stamping on them. Everybody's like, well, we need to do that. We stamped up some deck chairs this summer. Bella stamped up some deck chairs, really popular, because you can transfer that onto cushions, table linen. So I think it is just that fact that what people see, they can then create themselves, and they want to share it. So a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, we had an email from Carlo to say that he didn't want us to panic, but he had taken over our Instagram account.
Don't panic, but
also very sorry for the inconvenience. But yeah, so our account was hacked. We had a notification to say that there'd been a unrecognized login. By the time we looked at that, the password had changed, the handle had changed, we couldn't find the account. And then when we used it, we got an updated email to say that the handle had been changed to this. When we looked at it, it's just an empty, our logo's gone, all our photos have gone, our bio's gone, and then we couldn't find the account at all. Contacted Instagram immediately, nothing, looked on their help page, tried all the different avenues. It's just a minefield. Every single avenue took us back to, if you haven't found the answer here, have a look at our help page. And it was late in the afternoon, and Bella and I was working from home still, Bella was in the office, and we were just pulling our hair out, because what can you do? He wanted money. We obviously weren't going to engage with him. We ignored all the emails. We had more emails from him saying that we had 2 hours to pay. We had another one the next day. He was getting quite annoyed with us because we hadn't responded, but still apologising for the inconvenience. And yeah, it was it took over our lives, and we were completely out of our depth with it all.
How many followers did you have at that point when the account got hacked?
We had just over 28,000 followers.
Right.
Which, yeah, amazing. And we'd only been talking, Bella and I had only been talking the week before about how we need to do a big 30k giveaway. We need to do something big because this is really exciting. We never thought we'd get to that sort of point. And I remember, we remember reaching 10k and getting the swipe up facility and being so excited. And yeah, 30k for us as a small independent family run business selling rubber stamps, just mind blowing. So yeah, having realised we were going to get no help from Instagram at all, we actually did get one email from them saying, it's too late, your account's gone, we can't help you, sorry. Which just doesn't, it doesn't do anything at all, does it? So we decided that we would have to start again.
Yeah.
We are so lucky that we have a really strong following. Our audience is really loyal, they're really engaging, but we do also have some lovely influencers such as Lauren, who you've mentioned, Hunters and Heels, SJ from Just a Little Build, the lovely Emily Coxhead from the Happy Newspaper.
Yes.
She's fab. So we sort of reached out to, well, actually Lauren got in touch with us straight away as soon as she realised. We reached out to a few people and sort of said, if you can share, that would be amazing. And they were all brilliant and really helpful. And yeah, we managed to get our new account back up to just over 14,000 in a couple of weeks,
which is amazing. I mean,
absolutely amazing. I think one thing that I would really, really recommend to anybody, although we do ourselves rely heavily on Instagram, we do also make sure that we engage our Instagram followers with our mailing list, and we use our mailing list a lot. And so our mailing list is 20,000 strong. So we were able to send a newsletter out. Having said that, we got more reports than ever before against our newsletter. I think purely because it had the word hacked in it. We didn't put it in the subject, but I think a few people read that newsletter, saw the word hacked, and thought, if I open this, it could happen to me.
I see. Yes.
We then had our newsletter shut down.
Oh good. Oh my God. It just never rains but it pours.
Exactly. I mean, they were really, we used MailChimp, and they were, sorry, no we don't, we used Sendinblue, and they were really quick to come back and say it is unusual for you guys to have this many reports, so, or to have any really. So they got us back up and running really quickly, but we were just like, no, nothing else, please.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, we had the new account. We then did a few giveaways on the new account, sort of celebrate reaching 1,000 followers, 5,000 followers. We couldn't keep up with it actually, because each time we were saying we'll do this tomorrow, we'd then hit that goal overnight, which was amazing. And you know, the messages we got from our followers were really heartwarming. We felt a lot of support being passed through the Instagram waves. And yeah, we were doing really well. But then setting up the giveaways, we then had copycat accounts.
Oh, for the love of God.
So we then started getting messages from people saying, do you realise that you're already following me, but somebody else called it English Stamp with an extra S in the title has started following me, and they've now messaged me to say I've won their giveaway and I've got to enter my bank details.
For God's sake. I mean,
so in the last month we've had 3 of those. We've been reporting those, and you know, we know that they've been reported by hundreds of our followers because they've all messaged us to say that they've reported them. And one of them morphed into copying somebody else and is still going. One of them was actually taken down, and the other one, Instagram, replied and said that it didn't go against any of their community guidelines, so they weren't going to do anything about it.
You're in a really tricky position then, because what can you do? Because you know that, especially if someone is trying to be you and impersonate you. I got an account removed that was trying to impersonate me because they'd stolen my image and everything. But it puts you in a really difficult situation, doesn't it? Because
it does.
You want to tell your followers about it, but you don't want to draw attention to it, but you can't stop it. So it's...
And yeah, I mean, it all makes more work as well, though, because like I say, we really are so grateful for everybody that told us, reported it. But I know Bella and I, again, WhatsApping each other at 11 o'clock in the evening on a weekday, and we're like, we've got over 70 pending messages, we've got 100 messages to reply, and we want to reply to everybody because we are grateful, but it just is ongoing and it just makes more and more work. And it's just, you know, the copycat account had used our logo, they'd copied our bio word for word, and they'd taken 6 of our photos and posted them. So how it didn't go against community guidelines, I'm not entirely sure, but, and you know, and there were a couple of our followers that had actually clicked on the links, and then they're panicking and you want to try and set their mind at rest, but what can you actually do? We just, you know, advise them to contact their bank and get in touch with them. But yeah, it's nightmare. And I think, you know, the copycats are happening more and more and more, and you know, we want to do more giveaways in the future. We really enjoy doing them. They're great for business, they're great for followers, and it's really lovely giving out prizes as well.
Yes, definitely.
But it is, we are very nervous about doing the next one.
I have seen a lot of it, not just on Instagram, actually on Facebook as well. A lot of people being contacted by sort of spoof accounts saying you've won, and actually you realise that the competition hasn't even closed. Yeah. I guess there's actually a big kind of drive around awareness to let people know how they're going to be contacted if they win, that they'll never be able to give be asked to give their bank details to win a prize or whatever. I think probably all we can do as users of the platform in the right way is to kind of do our best to educate around it, because we can't stop the accounts from springing up. We can report them and hopefully they'll get removed. But even at the second, even if there's a time lag between the accounts springing up and them being removed, in that time window, you've got to try and limit the damage to people that you care about, who support your business, who are trying to do the right thing, haven't you? It's a blooming nightmare.
Well, the first copycat account that set up, we saw had 19 followers, and I was following them from my personal account because they'd obviously blocked English Stamp. And so I was then messaging people that were following them, knowing that they were our followers, and saying, no, don't, but you can't do that. You know, the next copycat that came up had 300 followers, and they may not have been ours. That copycat may have been somebody else's copycat previously and morphed into being ours. So you just, I think if we do another giveaway, we will put up in our stories in the days coming up to it. You will never be asked for your bank details. We will announce the winner through an Instagram message. It will look like this. Please don't engage with anything else. But it's just all things that, you know, 2 months ago we hadn't even considered.
Right.
But we still do love the Instagram platform, and it is still really, really good for us.
I love Instagram. It's just a shame. I think this is the thing as well. There was something on the news today, I think, about TikTok and people being quite anti-TikTok and cross about it. But the thing that vexes me, I was getting cross about it, was hanging out the washing. Such a random thing. But what we tend to do is, obviously I can completely understand your position, because you were trying to report it and trying to escalate it. But the people who are really the ones guilty here are the ones who are creating the duplicate accounts, who are trying to scam people out of money, who are sending them, I'm sorry to inconvenience you, but I've taken over your Instagram account and you need to pay me. They're the people who we should be cross at.
Yes.
You know, the platforms are incredible. There's always someone that, it's like at school, there's always that kid in the class that got you in trouble. And I think that this is what happens to things like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's that one user or a small group of users, when you think about the literally billions of people that use social media, but they really do sour it for so many.
And I think, you know, when we were saying, why don't they just have a telephone number? I just want to speak to somebody. But can you imagine if every person that was on Instagram needed to phone them at one point or another? I mean, there aren't enough phone lines for that. It's just
no.
And so, yeah, we did have to take some perspective on it. But I mean, we were really, really fortunate that we did get our account back. And that has happened all through chance. And it's just one of those really fortuitous situations. So where our workshop is, we have a neighbour who works for the BBC.
Oh, handy.
And he just decided the day after our account was hacked that he wanted a rubber stamp. So he popped down and knocked on the office door, and John and Bella were there, and started chatting to him, and Bella was sort of really ensconced in all the Instagram drama. I was at home, we were communicating with each other, and she just said to the neighbour, I'm so sorry, this is going on. And he was like, what? Tell me more. You know. And he got in touch with one of his colleagues and said they'd really love to cover the story. So Amazing. It made BBC News. The journalist was then able to get in touch with somebody, you know, has contacts at Instagram, and managed to push it all through for us. So we didn't actually have any dealings directly with Instagram until we got an email, which was a sort of generic-y kind of email. It wasn't from a person as such, but we got an email to say, you know, we had to obviously go through some identity processes to prove that it was actually our account. But we got it back, and I mean, it was just incredible. But in the meantime, you know, our new account is flourishing, and we had to then make a decision about what do we do, because even though we had sort of 28,000+ followers, you do think, well, some of them will be unengaged, some of them, you know, the ones we've got now are really engaged. But we ummed and ahed for a while, but we went back to our original account. We've kept the other one live at the moment, but crossed out our logo and we have, people have to request to follow us so that they're not just following us. But it was all those sort of things that we had to think of as well. And we're posting on our stories on the sub account sort of thing that we're not running on there anymore, and trying to get everybody back over. But it's ongoing.
But I mean, absolutely fair play to the BBC, because not only is it highlighting your issue, but it's actually highlighting a much greater issue, because there are things that we can do to protect our accounts. They're not fail safe, because these hackers are clever. I mean, they really are.
Yeah.
Just wish they'd use their skills in a better way. Like, there's bigger problems.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Got the pandemic. There's all sorts going on. Retune your brain, team. But there are things we can do to protect our accounts, which I know that you've been talking about on your account. So can you share those with us?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know how we hadn't sussed this before, because we did have a good following, but we didn't have two-factor authentication set on our account, which is the simplest thing to do. You go into your account, into your Instagram account, go into your settings, you set up two-factor. All that means is that if somebody wants to log in on a different device, a different laptop, desktop, iPhone, iPad, they will have to have a code. And there's you can use a verification app, or you can have the code text to your mobile number, but there's different ways you can set it up to suit you. But it just means that nobody else can then hopefully get into your account without having that code. So we've set that up now. It takes seconds, really, really straightforward to do. You just follow the instructions on the app settings and done in no time at all. The other thing we hadn't realised is that there's a backup option on Instagram as well. So we are now regularly backing up our Instagram feed, photos, stories, everything that we use on there. Again, it's just a click button in settings. We're also going back to the mailing list, which is our backup. We are exporting our mailing list and saving it to an external hard drive so that we've got that all the time, because we suddenly thought, gosh, how do we secure our mailing list as well? And I mean, I haven't ever heard of mailing lists getting hacked in our sort of field, but you can never be too sure. So
no, I think absolutely. I think these things can, obviously they're horrific, but the kind of learning from it when the initial pain's passed can kind of shore you up moving forward, I guess, can't it? And as you say, things
absolutely. I mean, we got our IT guy in the next day, and we went through everything. And we set up two-factor on everything that it's available on. We set up two-factor on our passwords and, everything. And it gave us the spring clean that we should have done previously, but we now feel much more secure that we've done everything we can.
Yeah, definitely.
Protect for the future.
I think I've got an app called Duo, I think it's called. I was going to have a look actually when you're talking about it. I didn't know the name of my authentication app. I think it's called Duo. Yes, it is called Duo Mobile, because I logged in from something else the other day and then had to find the phone and get the number and get the code. Yeah. It is, as you say, when you hear of what can happen, actually entering a code is just not even a thing. It's a few moments work versus the weeks, I imagine, that you spend, and all the stress as well.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed though from this issue for you is just how incredible your fans and followers are, and that must have been amazing. So lovely in an awful situation, such a lovely thing.
Absolutely, it has been really, really, like I said before, heartwarming. We had people reaching out to us that we hadn't necessarily engaged with before. We had communities. One of our followers, Dandy Dog, she's got lots of dog fans, and obviously and a really good community, and we are very dog friendly at the English Stamp Company. I take my girl to work with me. Sasha and John have 3 of their own dogs, and so that share within a new community that didn't really know us that well, realizing that we can make stamps from a photo of their own dog, crazy.
Wow.
So that was great. And we had people getting in touch with us saying that they'd seen us on the BBC News, didn't even know that stamps were still a thing, but loved them when they were children, can't wait to do it again this Christmas. Businesses and just, individuals that wanted an address stamp or hadn't heard of us before. We actually also, Bella was interviewed on the One Show last week as well. So
Oh, cool.
They didn't mention our name, which was a bit of a shame, but stamp company with a hacked Instagram account didn't take too long for people to find. So yeah, I mean, in a way, thank you, Carlo. You've drawn attention. You've put us out in places where people may not have known us before, but our original followers have just been great, and sharing on their stories, follow the English Stamp Company again, and all the messages we've had, it's been really, really lovely.
Have you noticed a benefit to your business because of the extra exposure?
We certainly had a little boost from it, yeah, which was brilliant. And especially having gone through the COVID months as well, it was really, really much needed as well. But yeah, it certainly gave us a little boost of business over the next week or so. With people
mentally as well, you need that, not just for the bottom line. I appreciate, it's important to have money come into your business, but when you've had a really challenging time, to see that there is good that comes out of it.
Yeah.
And, I think you kind of think, not quite, it was all worth it, but there's a reason that this has happened, or there's a benefit, even if it's a very, very covered one. Nightmare. So I was going to say, I always ask people about the highs and lows of their sort of business journey so far. And I don't know whether actually what's just happened to you might be both, because obviously there's definitely the low, but then the high. But can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe if you'd asked us 6 months ago, it would have been completely different. But I think definitely the lowest point in the time that I've worked for the English Stamp Company. I'm sure John has had his own moments, because he, for a long time, sort of was running the bones of the business on his own mostly, sort of making orders, getting them out, answering the phone, emails back in the day. But since I've been working at the English Stamp Company, we've had some great exhibitions. We do the Christmas shows. They've been fantastic. That's all been really good. I mean, that's another low for us this year, is that we're not sure how those are going to happen. Yeah. But having said that, we did a Country Living. They took their spring event online this year, and that it worked quite well for us. Brings people to the website when they wouldn't ordinarily be looking, and it means that we didn't have to leave our cozy little nest in Dorset. Yeah. So I think this year has been challenging for everybody in so many ways, but yeah, I think the high that we've had from getting our account back, and the feedback that we've had from everybody, and the support that we've had from everybody, has definitely been a real high point.
Community is just so important. I think that it gets overlooked. We're all after the numbers and the likes, and we all are, but actually what goes on beyond those likes and beyond those numbers is where the real magic happens. It's where people sort of cheerlead for you above and beyond what you would expect, and they tell their friends about this amazing company. It's that community that sort of takes us on, and I think that's something that I've learned so much through the coronavirus COVID issue, is that this community that we have is just worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've been online only for ever, really, since internet was a thing, and the shows that we do are our own only the real time that we mix with the public. But having Instagram, having Facebook, it is you get to see what people are doing with the stamps beyond us posting them out. And because people, like I said earlier, people are so proud of what they've created with the stamp, we get to see so much feedback, and our reviews are always really lovely. And that community, getting a share on Instagram, getting somebody putting up what they've made in their stories, we really love all of that. And like I say, we're often inspired by what our customers have done, and it's what you could get from a workshop if you're physically going to them or running them.
Yeah.
At a time like now where you can't do that, and it's having the stories and seeing what people are doing, it's really important, and we love it.
Have you felt that working with key influencers has also helped you to grow that community?
Absolutely, and we've never really pushed that ourselves. Lauren, SJ, they both found us, and Emily Cox had been using our stamps before we knew of the Happy newspaper, and you know, we've been really blessed that they've sort of found us. And I mean, we've even had a little shout out on Radio 1. Now, we did send them a stamp actually, but we were so pleased when they talked about it on the show. So it's, yeah, those guys are worth their weight in gold, absolutely. And the fact that they've sort of come to us and love our product, it's not that we're having to ask them to use it, is just really lovely.
And do you have any tips for working with influence? Because quite a few people, well, actually there's a few different aspects of this. Some people expect influencers with big accounts to kind of promote them heavily for, you know, a pen, you know, a very, very low amount of money. And other people have got very, very small accounts, not great content, and start approaching big brands about everything they want for free. And I think there's just such a mismatch there, and it can work that everybody, if not handled correctly, brands feel used and abused, and influencers feel used and abused. So if you got any tips for how you manage that?
We are so naive to this sector. Like I say, we've been really, really fortunate in that some lovely influencers have found us and have come to us, and they've actually bought stamps before we've known about them, and then used them and shared them. So SJ, just a little build, had bought some stamps from us, and then when she was doing her Insta Meet, she asked us if we'd get involved, and that was great. And of course, and we were more than happy to do something for her goodie bags and to help out like that. But when people come to us and say they'd like to collab, we're like, what do you mean? You know, we still aren't sure, because I think everybody has a different interpretation of what that means. Some people, we had somebody once ask if we could collab with them, and we weren't sure what they wanted. I got the impression that she wanted us to send her something so that she could talk about it on her feed. And then I'm pretty sure what she then sent me was actually her Christmas shopping list. And I was like, this is a lot. You're asking for an awful lot, and I don't think we can meet this. And she was like, that's fine, I'll go elsewhere. And you're sort of left a little aghast at things like that. And, you know, we've given stamps to, we did one earlier this year for Guide Dogs for the Blind. They didn't ask for it. Like I say, we're really dog friendly. We're very influenced. We've done a lot for dog charities. And yeah, we've got a guide dog stamp that was designed by Debbie Kendall, one of our lovely ladies that we've collabed with. And we've got a note on that product that if anybody wants to use that particular stamp for charity, to get in touch. And then they get shared, and people will see that we do other dog stamps and buy them. So it works in that way for us, but we've not really proactively tried to work with influencers. So I can't give you, we've just been really fortunate, and we are so grateful for those that have come to us. But I can't give much advice, I'm afraid.
No, but I think what's really interesting is you said with both of those people that you talked about is that they actually had an interest in your company first, before you develop that relationship. And I feel that with so many people approaching the brands, often the ones I see, sometimes they don't even follow the brand. They're sometimes promoting competitors. They've never bought from the brand, so initially you're not on a good standing.
No.
And then, as you say, sending a brand a Christmas list, I think that when people approach brands about collaborations, they need to have a plan, not just, I want all this stuff. Well, what are you going to do with that stuff, and how is that going to actually benefit us? How is that going to benefit both of us together? Yeah.
And also, who's your audience? You know, we've had a couple of people ask if we'll collab with them, and then you see their feed and it's all beauty products, and you think, some of your followers would be interested in our stamps, but it's not what you're about. It doesn't really sit with us. And we do find that we have quite a family audience. So somebody like Lauren is ideal, because her feed is all about her lovely family and the activities that she does with them. And, you know, she is amazing. We love her. She's just great. But that's perfect for us. And we're so glad that she did reach out to us. And yeah, we have quite a few crafters, family sort of based. The dog thing is always good. And yeah, it is making sure that who you're working with, if you are going to work with somebody, that it ticks more than just 2 or 3 boxes maybe. And you know, we are quite rural, we're quite naive to all of this sort of thing, and yeah, we've built our Instagram account up over the last 7 years, but it's not, we've not had a real sort of plan. We kind of go with how it feels, and it's great having Bella because she's that much younger than us all, so she's a bit more up on how these things work, but then most of our audience are my age, and so there's a balance there as well, but it is making sure that the people that you work with, there's another really lovely lady, Marie Fosberg, who is a photographer and does a lot of food. She's got recipe books out and everything, and her photographs are just stunning, and Sasha, founder of the English Stamp Company, and her have met up on foodie sort of basis from time to time, and Marie's used some of our stamps and taken the most stunning photographs, and that's great. But again, I mean, there may have been some bartering between her and Sasha for recipes, or truffles or whatever. It's all very oldie worldy, but we like that sort of thing, and we're much more comfortable with that than the sort of, I don't think we would ever look at paying somebody to display our goods on their feed. It's just not something that we would feel comfortable with. We want the people that talk about our stamps to have a genuine love for them and to have used them and to know how they work. And I think that's the thing with SJ and Lauren. They both do craft with their children. They craft themselves and make things themselves, and that definitely is a win-win for us, because what they're showing with our stamps, their followers can then go and create themselves.
I think that's so important, that relatability, but being aspirational too. It's brilliant activity, but also solves a few other problems along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that is amazing. Thank you so much. Can you tell us all the places where my lovely listeners can find you?
So our website is englishtstamp.com. We have everything on there. If you can't find what you're looking for, you can definitely get in touch. We do lots of custom products, and we've got lots of art stamps on our website. Like I said, they start at £4. So for a £4 stamp and a £2.50 ink pad, you could be making your wrapping paper if you ordered today in 2 days' time.
So that's basically where I think I'm going to head after this call, after this recording.
Yeah. So our Instagram is at English Stamp. Facebook, you'll find us at English Stamp Company. We do have a few retailers, but they're kind of little bespoke shops all over the country. If you want to find out more about that, then probably best to drop us an email, but everything's online. So, and we're always available. Bella and myself will be answering all the emails if anybody wants to get in touch to find out more about a bespoke product.
Amazing. I think that'd be perfect. Quite a few of my audience are small businesses, and I think that it's such a great way to really add the next level to your branding in actually a really cost-effective way as well.
Absolutely, and a really quick way to change branding. Like, one thing we've noticed through COVID is the amount of pubs ordering stamps for pizza boxes. Has just been brilliant. Yeah, and sort of beauty therapists offering gift bags to their families and friends and customers. So we've seen the businesses that have got all their branding but want to just tweak it slightly to suit a new direction that they're taking, and a stamp can do that really easily. So
right, well, I'm off there now. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've loved this chat.
Thank you for having us. Really lovely to chat with you.